Ever get that feeling, like you've been somewhere before, or like you've lived through something already, but it's hazy, like a half-forgotten dream?
It's almost like a premonition.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of vibe we're diving into today with the Pollock twins. We've got some seriously interesting articles on this case, and I gotta say, I'm hooked.
It's one of those stories that really gets under your skin, you know? Even if you don't buy into the whole reincarnation thing, the details of the Pollock case are just, well, they're compelling.
Totally agree. So, for anyone who needs a refresher, let's start with the basics. This all takes place in England, am I right?
Yeah, Hexham, England, to be exact. John and Florence Pollock, they lose their two daughters, Joanna and Jacqueline, in a car accident.
Awful. What year was this?
This was back in 1957. Jacqueline was 6, and Joanna, the younger one, she was just a baby, not even 2 yet.
Just heartbreaking. Every parent's worst nightmare. And this is where the story takes that unbelievable turn, right?
Exactly. Just a year later, Florence gives birth to twins, Gillian and Jennifer.
Okay.
And right off the bat, there are these strange echoes of the past.
Like what?
Well, Jennifer, one of the twins, she's born with this birthmark on her forehead, and it's eerily similar to a scar that Jacqueline had. And there's another birthmark, this one on her hip, just like a birthmark Jacqueline had.
I read that in one of the articles, and my jaw literally dropped. I mean, what are the chances? It's such a wild coincidence.
That's just the beginning. The coincidences, they don't stop there. Nope. The family had actually moved away from Hexham after the twins were born, you see, but then they moved back when the girls were about 4.
Yeah.
That's when things get really strange. The twins start recognizing places and things they've never seen before. It's like they have these memories they shouldn't have.
Wait, so you're saying they're picking up where their sisters left off?
It's uncanny. They point out landmarks, ask for specific toys that had belonged to their deceased sisters. There was even this instance where they acted out the accident itself.
One article mentioned the twins would freak out at the sight of moving cars. I can't even imagine. It gives me chills just thinking about it. Like some part of them, deep down, actually remembers that horrible day.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Are these just eerie coincidences, or could this be evidence of something more? And then there's that other detail about their father, John Pollock. He was already interested in reincarnation even before the twins were born.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. That changes things. So are you saying this whole thing could just be because of him?
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like, did he somehow, even subconsciously, lead the girls?
You're saying like he planted those memories because he wanted to believe it was reincarnation.
It's definitely something to consider. We know children are very easily influenced, especially by their parents.
True. But hold on, what about Gillian? The visions she had. Are you saying those could have been planted too?
That's where things get a bit more complicated. Visions are a whole other ballgame, even for someone like Dr. Stevenson, who devoted his career to this kind of research.
Right. One of the articles mentioned him, Dr. Ian Stevenson. He was like the reincarnation guy, right?
Yeah, you could say that. Wrote the book on it, literally. Children who remember previous lives. He studied hundreds of cases all over the world.
Hundreds. Wow. Okay, so did any of them check out? Like, did he ever actually prove reincarnation was real?
That's the thing about reincarnation, isn't it? It's like, how do you actually prove it?
Yeah, it's not like you could just like whip out a microscope and be like, boom, reincarnation.
Exactly. It's slippery. Stevenson got close, though. He documented everything so carefully, trying to cross-reference those memories with real-world facts.
That's actually really interesting. So like if a kid said they remembered living in a certain house, he'd go try to find that house.
Pretty much. He was meticulous. But even with all that, even Stevenson couldn't say for sure if it was really reincarnation. It always came down to, well, belief.
That's kind of beautiful in a way, don't you think? Like some things are just beyond what we can prove. It leaves room for, I don't know, faith or just plain old wonder.
I get what you mean. And you know, with the Pollock case, even if those little girls weren't actually their sisters reborn, don't you think it says something about us?
Uh-huh.
That we want to believe it so badly.
Totally. It's like this deep human need to feel like death isn't the end, that maybe, just maybe, there's something more.
I think that's what makes this case so enduring. You know, it forces us to confront these big existential questions.
Absolutely. It makes you think about all those times you've had a weird feeling of déjà vu or just like sensed something was going to happen before it did. What if those are glimpses into another life?
Or echoes of memories we haven't lived yet. Who knows?
See, this is what I love about these deep dives. It's like we don't have all the answers, but it sure is fun to explore the possibilities.
Couldn't agree more. And you know, Even with all the research, all the theories, at the end of the day, the Pollock twins' story is a mystery.
A total mystery. And you know what makes a good mystery even better?
What's that?
A little bit of family drama. Remember that one article that mentioned the twins' older brothers? They weren't really part of the reincarnation theories. But don't you think they could have played a role?
Oh, 100%. I mean, think about it. Those brothers would have had their own memories of their sisters, their own way of telling stories, of remembering.
Right, so even if it wasn't intentional, they could have influenced how the twins understood what happened. Like, maybe they say things like, oh, Joanna loved that park, and suddenly, boom, the twins remembering it too.
It's like this weird unintentional game of telephone, but with memories instead of words.
Exactly, and it makes you wonder, how much of who we are is shaped by the stories we're told?
Or the stories we tell ourselves. It's
Yeah.
a fascinating thought.
So there you have it, folks. The Pollock Twins. A case filled with twists and turns, eerie coincidences, and enough mind-boggling details to keep us guessing for, well, probably lifetimes. What do you think? Were these girls living proof of reincarnation? Or just a product of their environment influenced by grief, suggestion, and maybe even a dash of sibling storytelling? We'd love to hear your theories. Until next time, keep those minds open and those questions coming.